I think people have to be very careful to not get trapped along the way with things that you can afford with your current lifestyle, like the way you're living and the way you're earning, but they're also imprisoning you in the fact that you are now going to have to work this 40-hour-a-week job in order to get this thing that you can afford, but now you're saddled down to this job. You're not saving. You're not putting things in a good place, and you're working for these things. Yeah. Working for things as rewards is a real trap that a lot of people fall into.
It's the biggest one. Nassim Taleb also says that there are two great addictions: heroin and a monthly salary. Right, and that's why you can't get rich renting out your time, because even when you start charging more and more for your time, it's this slow upgrade loop, and then you upgrade your house at the same time, you upgrade your car at the same time, you move in the neighborhood. You really also have to get used to ignoring your peers, or upgrading or changing the definition of your peers. There are a lot of people here who are poor here, but they would be rich if they were living in Thailand and Bali. And if they have the luxury of a remotely doable job, they may want to be living there and saving up money.
But the ignoring the peers is an issue, because the keeping up with the Joneses is a real phenomenon.
Yeah, envy makes the world go round. Right?
Yeah. And then there's a other thing that people have to avoid, even allowing their mind to think. When they're hearing what you're saying, and all this logical, fantastic advice, there's these 6 dirty words. That's easy for you to say.
Yeah.
That is a terrible trap.
I mean, look, I grew up as a first-generation immigrant in Jamaica, Queens, with zero money, single mom, 2 kids, working day and night, going to school. I washed dishes. I was working catering jobs. I was mowing lawns. I was working since the age of 11, on and off here and there. Didn't have 2 cents to rub together. I had to borrow $400 to go to college. Like, literally, I was short $400.
$400.
I had to find $400. Wow. I didn't have it. Got rejected from a job at Dunkin' Donuts. So, okay. It's not to say that it's easy. It's not easy. It's not actually really freaking hard. Yeah. It is the hardest thing you will do, but it's also the rewarding thing. Look at the kids who are born rich, no meaning to their lives.
It's a terrible place.
Your real resume is just a cataloging of all your suffering, right? If I were to ask you to describe your real life to yourself, when you look back on your deathbed, you're going to go back and say, what are the interesting things I've done? And it's all going to be around the sacrifices that you made and the hard things that you did. Anything you're given doesn't matter. You have your 4 limbs, you have your brain, you have your head, you have your skin. That's all for granted. So you have to do hard things anyway to create your own meaning in life. Making money is a fine one. Yeah, struggle. It is hard. I'm not going to say it's easy. It's really hard, but the tools are all available. It's all there.
There's also these traps that people sort of establish in their own mind of giving themselves excuses or giving themselves unsurmountable obstacles, insurmountable paths and terrain.
Victim mentality.
Yes.
Yeah, it's somebody else's fault. It's my skin color's fault. It's the system's fault. Yeah, those people are sinking. I feel bad for them. I want to shake them out of it and say, actually, you can get out of it. You just have to stop thinking it's everybody else's fault.
You have to alter the perspective.
Yeah.
But it's so difficult for people to do. It's one of the most difficult things for people to do, is to change the way they approach reality itself.
At the end of the day, I do think, even despite what I said earlier, life is really a single-player game. It's all going on in your head. Whatever you think you believe will very much shape your reality, both from what risks you take and what actions you perform, but also just your everyday experience of reality. If you're walking down the street and you're judging everyone, you're like, I don't like that person because their skin color. I don't like that. Oh, she's not attractive. That guy's fat. This person's a loser. Oh, who put this in my way? The more you judge, the more you're going to separate yourself, and you'll feel good for an instant because you'll feel good about yourself. I'm better than that. But then you're going to feel lonely. And then you're just going to see negativity everywhere. The world just reflects your own feelings back at you. Reality is neutral. Reality has no judgments. To a tree, there's no concept of right or wrong or good or bad, right? You're born, you have a whole set of sensory experiences and stimulations and lights and colors and sounds, and then you die.
Yeah.
And how you choose to interpret that is up to you. You do have that choice. So this is what I meant, that happiness is a choice. If you believe it's a choice, then you can start working on it. And I can't tell you how to find it, because it's your own conditionings that are making you unhappy. So you have to uncondition yourself. It's just like, I can't fix your eating habits for you. I can give you some general guidelines, but you got to go through the hard habit forming of how to eat right. But you have to believe it's possible. And it is absolutely possible. I was miserable. I'm happy as a clam. And it's not just the money. I got there before the money. Peter Thiel talks a lot about how competition is besides the point. It's counterproductive. We're highly mimetic creatures. We copy what everybody else is doing around us. We copy our desires from them. If everyone around me is a great artist, I want to be an artist. If everyone around me is a great business person, I want to be a business person. Everybody around me is a social activist. I want to be a social activist. That's where my self-esteem will come from. You have to be a little careful when you get caught up in these status games that you end up competing over things that aren't worth competing over. So Peter Thiel talks about how he was going to be a law clerk because he was in law school and everybody around him wanted to be a law clerk for a Supreme Court justice or some famous judge. And he got rejected, and that's what made him go into business. So it helped him break out of a lesser game into a greater game. So sometimes you just get trapped in the wrong game because you're competing. And the best way to escape competition, to get away from the specter of competition, which is not just stressful and nerve-wracking, but will often drive you to just the wrong answer. The way to escape competition is to just be authentic to yourself. If you are fundamentally building and marketing something that is just an extension of who you are, no one can compete with you on that.
But when people look at particularly social media, let's bring it back to that, when you see someone who, you see them posed in front of their mansion with their beautiful car and they're leaning against it with their designer clothes on, their expensive watch, you go, I want that.
Right.
That's what I want.
What you really want is freedom. You want freedom from your money problems.
Right.
And I think that's okay. So people, once someone can solve their money problems, either by lowering their lifestyle or by making enough money, essentially what you want to get everybody to is retirement. But not retirement in the I'm 65 years old, sitting in a nursing home collecting a check retirement. It's a different definition. Retirement is when you stop sacrificing today for some imaginary tomorrow. Okay.
Yes.
When today is complete in and of itself, you're retired.
Yeah.
And so how do you get there? Well, one is you can have so much money saved up that just your passive income off of that, without you having to lift a finger, covers your burn rate. Keep your burn rate low, right?
Mm-hmm.
A second is you just drive your burn rate down to zero. You become a monk. A third is you're doing something you love. You enjoy it so much, it's not about the money.
Right.
So there are multiple ways to that path, but the most common is people just say, I need to make more money. And the kind of wealth creation that I talk about is about creating timeless principles and adapting yourself so that making money won't be an issue.
Anybody who's read your life, you're a testament to the idea that to not be a victim, but to be a survivor. And it's an attitude that has helped me in my short life so far. Could you perhaps expand on that idea, how it's helped you, and how that is perhaps one of the greatest ways to live your life out, regardless of what happens to you?
Well, of course, feeling like it's rather interesting to make change. Some people are victimized by other people. And if it weren't for the indignation that causes, we wouldn't have reforms that we need. But that truth is mixed with another. It's very counterproductive for an individual to feel like a victim, even if he is. Best attitude is just to be cheerful about everything and keep plugging along. And therefore, I don't like politicians that get ahead by trying to make everybody else feel like a victim. And they make my flesh crawl. And I just don't believe in it. Of course, who wants to be a victim instead of a survivor? Of course we want. But feeling like a victim, you can recognize your position is bad and try and improve it. That's okay. But to have a deep feeling of victimhood and it's all somebody else's fault is a very counterproductive way to think. People don't even like being around it. It's really stupid. And yet our politicians build on it and try and make their careers work by doing something that's very bad for all the people they're talking to. And they think they're doing the world's work. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
Reflections. Working for things as rewards. The things you own end up owning you. Chuck Palahniuk. The goal isn't passive income. The goal is active income doing what you like. Sahil Lavinja. I recommend watching the video That by Kapil Gupta, which Naval recently shared on Twitter. You can check the link at the top right corner of the screen. The victim mentality. My formula for greatness is amor fati, that one wants nothing to be different, not forward, not backwards, not in all eternity, not merely bear what is necessary, still less conceal it, but love it. Nietzsche. A great man is hard on himself, a small man is hard on others. Confucius. The competition trap. If you have a guaranteed market of one, i.e. yourself, you are ahead of 99% of all entrepreneurs out there. Tim Ferriss. Ideas don't come out fully formed. They only become clearer as you work on them. You just have to get started. Mark Zuckerberg. Something that has been useful to me is this idea of building something that I myself would love to consume, even if I see other entrepreneurs already executing on that same concept. I just do something similar or shamelessly copycat them if they have better ideas. This might look like I'm getting into competition instead of escaping from it, but the thing is that as I execute the project, I naturally give it my own spin over time. So when I just start the project, my idea is also just starting. It is far from being a complete business idea. But as I work on the project, the idea gets more and more formed. And as it gets formed, you're slowly getting away from competition until the ideal scenario in which there is demand for your product and the market cannot find it anywhere else other than through you. That's the point where you become a personal monopoly, as one of my favorite writers, David Pearl, would put it.
Thanks for watching.